What do you think the reason is that your father Saul kept those audio diaries?
That's an interesting question. Kept the audio diaries. Why did he record the audio diaries? Was his motivation to record the audio diaries different from his motivation to record his phone calls with Cash secretly? I would say that the answer to the audio diaries, in a word, is that he was a narcissist. Thank goodness my father was a narcissist. I'm sure I'm part narcissist myself. The great thing about narcissists is they keep everything. They keep a very detailed record of their lives. It wasn't, on the other hand, as some people suspect, to someday write a tell-all book about Johnny Cash. That was not my father's style. He had sat on this storage locker for 30 years when he committed suicide. He had plenty of time to write such a book. I believe the reason he recorded those audio diaries, whether he was conscious of it or not, was that this was a form of therapy. This was an archetypical 1950s man. This was a time when psychiatrists were taboo. And besides, anyone who's seen the film would know my father as someone who would never see a psychiatrist or admit that he couldn't solve his own problem. So I believe, and it's evidenced by what you hear in the film, that these diaries are a way for my father to deal with emotional baggage as he comes off the road with Cash. He'll recount the previous week or what's going on with his family or his own failings. Now, the question of why he recorded the phone calls is somewhat different and quite fascinating. The truth is that it wasn't, again, to get the goods on Johnny Cash, but I discovered in going through his material that he began a practice in the early 60s of having people witness his conversations with Johnny. You have to understand that by 1964-65, Johnny had developed a split personality. In fact, Johnny himself famously said that Johnny's the nice guy, it's Cash who causes all the trouble. The fact is, he was taking so many pills at that point that one day he would meet with my father and my father would say, "What do you think? Let's play Miami on the 27th. And Cash would say, "Sure, let's do it." And the next day, Johnny would say, "I never said that. What are you talking about?" So my father began a practice of having June witness their conversations. And then when the technology came along to afford him to record his phone calls with Cash, that was simply an extension of having backup in case Cash should fall off the wagon and deny having agreed to do something.
Oh, very smart. Do you almost feel that he wanted you to find the audio tapes? I know you said in one scene, I believe, that you felt as if he was actually speaking to you, and you played some where it did. It sounded like he was addressing you personally. Do you think that was part of it?
It's a fair question. And it's certainly a hypothetical one because no one could possibly know the answer. There are people who are perhaps spiritual more so than I, or perhaps very optimistic, who'll come up to me and say, "You know, your father, he left those tapes for you because he wanted you to reconcile with him in death," which I know not to be true, because my father would, if he were walking around, he'd find a way to kill me for touching his stuff. But I do believe that he would have gotten a big kick out of the movie because, again, he enjoyed the attention he did get as Cash's manager, if not being a narcissist. And I think that he would enjoy having been made sort of, his legacy have been assured as a consequence.